There has been many good expansions with the Destiny franchise, and yet there has been as much or even at a other argument depending on what your thoughts are on each expansion, there has been some bad expansions. Likely around Curse of Osiris, Beyond Light for example, and I just despise Shadowkeep, but even then, Shadowkeep received around a 7 out of 10 on IGN's review of that expansion. Lightfall is one of the lowest ratings I've ever seen for a fall expansion, being that their review in progress, remember this isn't the final review, but rating it a 5 out of 10. That's major. We're going to talk about what IGN says about Lightfall so far, as this is major, as this is not something to just be like, oh, okay, no, who cares? Okay, I know people don't really care about much to IGN, but I know a lot of people do care, and it really comes down to how it really works out for other people who maybe want to get into Destiny, and then they go and watch IGN's review, and there you go. You get the idea. So we're gonna look at that. First, why not subscribe? We're gonna reach 30K, guys. We just reached 20K. I love you all. You guys are so awesome. Did I ever tell you that? You guys are so awesome. But none of that, let's get right into some of the stuff about this rating for Lightfall. Again, like I just said, it is a rating in progress, review in progress, so it probably won't be final. I could see it being adjusted, but I can't see it being very majorly adjusted, unfortunately. I don't know if that's the case. I just feel like right now I would say in an argument that gameplay-wise, we are in a much better place than Shadowkeep. Quality of life changes as well at some extent, as there's some quality of life changes I don't like as much, Guardian ranks. But even then, it looks like that is not helping out because there's still a lot of issues with the Lightfall expansion. So IGN posted their review from Travis, sorry. He's a great guy. I heard he plays a lot, but I've also heard that many people think he is a bit more stricter on Destiny, apparently. So I wouldn't say that this is just a normal, casual player. This player is experienced, that's what I would say, but, everyone's a bit more, strict with Destiny in some scenario. You might have met a friend like that. So we're going to read what he says, and it's something, but, I get why some people despise what he says here, because people don't believe 5 out of 10 is really a good rating for a fall expansion, as major as this, no matter how bad the quality was, but let's get on to it. On the chill and covered heels of the impressive Witch Queen expansion and a relatively strong year of live service support overall, it seems like Destiny 2 was finally gaining momentum as it headed towards its conclusion of its epic saga. Sadly, my optimism for the game I spent thousands of hours playing has came crashing down like a Cabal drop pod after just a couple dozen with the Destiny 2 latest expansion, Lightfall. The story is so shockingly incoherent that even someone who hasn't spent countless hours reading Destiny's lore like I have couldn't understand its nonsense. The new destination on Neomuna feels as lifeless as the real planet, and the endgame and seasonal activities have so few surprises to offer, at least so far, that they give me deja vu in the worst possible way. Thankfully, a number of Lightfall activities are challenging enough to warrant me leaning forward in my seat. The new Strand subclass is a nice addition to Destiny's sandbox, and the most recent batch of quality of life improvements largely succeed at making my time shooting space rhinos in the face a lumpy, bumpy ride. I still have a little more to do and the eventual raid ahead of me, but so far even Lightfall's best parts hasn't been able to wash the overwhelming taste of disappointment out of my mouth. The opening moments of Lightfall are some of its best, as Destiny's long-awaited final villain, the Witness, arrives in our solar system to deal a big blow against humanity and our allies. But any excitement is quickly swept into the vacuum of space as you bizarrely and explicitly redirect all your attention to take part in seemingly unrelated side quests in the Neptune city of Neomuna. Not only is the story decidedly low-stakes diversion that draws you away from the real conflict happening on Earth, but it flat out does not make any sense. That's not just me saying that either. Some of the Destiny community's greatest lore minds have been completely stumped by the other nonsense of Lightfall's story. Yeah, Evade, for example, and Bife, they're all over the place. Yeah, so it's something else. The events of Neomuna surround a MacGuffin called the Veil, a mysterious artifact that you're told is super important, but nobody ever tells you what it is or its purpose, even a little bit ever. Your enemy is Callus, a stack of pancakes, cosplaying as an air fryer who serves a least intimidating antagonist in Destiny's history as you wage war against an incompetent moron for control of an artifact you know nothing about. You also discover the darkness power of Strand, a green element subclass our heroes spend half of the campaign trying to figure out how to use in a process so dull that literally skips over some of it by giving you a Rocky style training montage as one point. Yikes. Along the way, you also meet the Cloud Riders, Nimbus and Rohan, who are 12-foot tall, cybernetically infused humanoids with personalities that were apparently drawn randomly from a basket of clinches. Rohan is an elderly Cloud Strider who all but stares directly into the camera to tell you he's a day away from retirement. I wonder what will happen to him. Wink, wink, wink. While Nimbus is a young surfer dude who makes cringy jokes as humanity holocaust unfolds, staying on a brand with the rest of the campaign. The writing for these two is so extraordinarily bad, it makes interacting with them a painful chore, especially Nimbus, who managed to make the low stakes of Lightfall story feel even more laughable with his irritating jokes. The story slams the brakes on any momentum from the Witch Queen. Just as it began, the story wraps up merely 8 hours later while resolving none of its greater questions and kicking the can down the road for an actual story development to be dealt with at a later date, nearly putting all the pieces back exactly where they were at the beginning. The storytelling is so dreadful it makes me nostalgic for the days of the infamous "I don't have time to explain what I don't have time to explain" line uttered in Destiny Vanilla. But worse than that, it undermines the approaching finale by trivializing the arrival of the Witness and slamming the brakes on any momentum or goodwill Destiny gained from the Witch Queen's excellent writing. As a longtime Destiny fan, I was utterly heartbroken by both the disappointing whiplash in quality and all the wasted story potential by the time I finished the Lightfall campaign. It's not just the plot that disappoints either. The levels themselves feel decidedly less unique or memorable than the Witch Queen. The interesting puzzles and diet rate mechanics featured in the last year's campaign has been replaced with irritating battles taking place in an arena where you often running in circles to survive, stopping to take shots here and there while you can, instead of fighting interesting new enemies like the Light-Bearing Hive. Lightfall has you mostly fighting the same brutal cabal that we've been at war with for the 9 years, which has always been Destiny's less engaging adversaries. I have to admit that is the case. Strand does at least help ease the monary from the campaign's action, representing the biggest shakeup of Destiny's sandbox in a long while. The power themselves aren't revolution to Destiny. You get a new melee ability, new super for each class that deals huge DPS and some buffs and debuffs to play with, like Suspend, which lifts enemies off the ground and entangles them briefly, or Sever, which causes the enemy's damage output to become severely reduced. Admittedly, these additions aren't hugely different from what we've seen in Destiny over the years. For example, Strandly efficiently does the same thing as freezing powers of stasis that we got with Beyond Light, and casting Strand supers take out large groups of enemies, work more or less incidentally to other subclasses, but with a different color. But that's not to say Strand has nothing unique to offer. The main reason to pick it over other classes is that it's unmatched in mobility, since the subclass replaces your guarding grenade with a grappling hook that allows you to swing around the environment and pull yourself towards enemies to follow up with devastating melee hits. Both of them are a lot of fun. It's definitely an interesting trade-off, since gaining access to a grappling hook is rarely worth losing a grenade over, but it still adds some much needed diversity to the sandbox, and it's a great option to help navigate the nature of Neomuna skyscrapers. You're spending most of your time on the neon-soaked streets of Neomuna, a city that's hidden from the rest of the galaxy until now, yet houses massive buildings of technology that surpasses even that of the Guardian during the Golden Age. Fortunately, the setting is so friendly as its lore, and it's barren and lifeless despite supposedly thriving up to the recent Cabal invasion. Each area of Neomuna contains a handful of featureless buildings and plenty of Cabal and Vexed enemies to battle, but little else to engage with aside from the standard fare of patrols and public events that we've seen in every Destiny location since 2014. You might be thinking, but shouldn't this thriving city on Neptune be full of people to talk to? Of course it should, right? It would be crazy to make this whole thing look like a normal park with no intelligent life in sight. Well, as you convincingly told earlier in your visit, all of the citizens of Neomuna has been uploaded to a virtual network to achieve immortality, so they only appear around the city as blurry ghost-like outlines. The only physical being occupying the meat space of Neomuna are the duo of Cloud Striders who apparently follow the Sith rules of two, so there's no chance of you meeting a third, maybe more interestingly, character even by accident. Yeah, I can admit that too. It's pretty bad. It's pretty bad. Luckily, there's one exciting new enemy for you to fight alongside the way, as Lightfall introduces the Tormentor, Warrior of the Darkness, who chases you with a scythe, taking away your abilities and suppression powers, and can nearly one-shot with you with his terrifying grappling attack. As the first true foot soldier of the darkness we face after years of speculation that the pyramid ships would be filled with new horrors for us to confront, the Tormentor serves as a glimmer of hope for what I imagine will be a fully realistic enemy faction once we face the Witness head on. But for now, they're one of the only things to occasionally inject some desperately needed freshness into Lightfall's otherwise stale sandbox. They might be a bit overused in the campaign for that reason, but they are at least generally fun for new obstacles to overcome. Quality of life tweaks have at least made Destiny 2 a smoother ride. A less thrilling addition in the Cabal enemies, now infused with the wicked powers of darkness, will frequently drop a shard upon death that grants an overshield for his allies for a long time unless it's destroyed. While at least it's a new challenge to contend with, it mostly just causes the flow of combat to grind to a halt after a couple of seconds as you're forced to remove overshields from the enemy before proceeding, only for another shard to drop the next time you kill something. I have to admit, once you completed Lightfall's campaign, you'll be greeted by the usual post-game quest and busy work that has been followed over any recent Destiny campaign. There's nothing bad about the post-game stuff I've played so far, but there's also nothing super exciting about it. You'll learn a little more about Neomuna and go into Odyssey to obtain a new exotic weapon, and or even Strand for more customization options for that subclass, but nothing I've played has made me particularly motivated about continue to go around Neomuna. I still have some quests to check off my list before finalizing this review, and I'm hopeful the raid debuts on March 10th will prove more entertaining than my adventures so far. But as of right now, things are looking pretty dire for the game that has been close to my heart for many years. No doubt Lightfall's shortcomings are made more painful by immediately following the Witch Queen and its strong post-launch updates, which felt like Destiny 2 has finally overcome its storytelling and a strong future for itself. After playing Lightfall, perhaps too fittingly given its name, the future doesn't look quite as bright. And of course, if we had to score it now for Lightfall, it would be a 5 out of 10. This is a big review. I don't know what your thoughts on it. Let me know how you think of what Trevor had to say. I get why many do believe that this was a bit more strict than many, and a 5 out of 10 is pretty hard for expansion like Lightfall, because no matter how much stuff we have talked about here on the channel about how Lightfall has been in the recent couple of days, I wouldn't say it goes to a Curse of Osiris or to a set unquote Shadowkeep level, as it's being ranked below Shadowkeep. In my opinion, I do believe Shadowkeep was just a bad expansion, because Shadowkeep didn't have anything really made at all. And I believe that Lightfall stands in that scenario where it was unplanned when it was released, because after Final Shape was announced, Lightfall would be more like an unplanned expansion. Same how Rise of Iron was an unplanned expansion before Destiny 2 was going to release a year later. Time will tell on how Lightfall will be received upon and how they might change the review in the coming days after the raid launches. But let me know your thoughts on how IGN's review make you think about Lightfall, and how you think Destiny will undergo and hopefully overmind this, review and make us have the better seasonal year and have Final Shape be the best expansion in Destiny. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye, guys.